a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Listening to Right Side Patriots on the CPR Worldwide Media Network.
We, the people.
Welcome to Right Side Patriots on the CPR Worldwide Media Network. I'm Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot, along with Diane Sorey from the Patriot Factor. Diane, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Craig?
Boy, I'll tell you what, here we are. It's another Wednesday, and we've got a great show planned for you. Coming up later in the show, we have a very exclusive interview. People might remember a couple of years ago when a video surfaced, Marines peeing on dead Taliban. Well, we've got one of those Marines, and he's going to join us about 30 minutes from right now in a very exclusive interview.
And it's very good because he's going to explain things that the media never told us.
You know, there's so much more to this story than what people may think or may remember. And this is going to be very interesting because it's not over yet. But that's not all we've got today. We've also got, coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk a little bit about Putin, Obama, Ukraine. We're going to delve into the Democratic and maybe Republican candidates, possibly, for 2016. We've got a very bleak, let's say, update about Obamacare, and this really has an effect personally on Diane, and we're going to get to that before the show is over as well. But we've got so many other things that we need to talk about. Now, folks may remember a couple of weeks ago, we did our very level best to get on the air. We were on for maybe 30 minutes, and then we got hacked by Muslims, of all people. Usually they're so docile and they don't really care what you say, but a couple of weeks ago, they were kind of all over us. So we have decided to take steps to maybe be a little bit more inclusive of the Muslims. I spent a better part of the week trying to track down, locate, and hire as an intern a moderate Muslim. A moderate Muslim. Can you believe that?
No, I can't.
Well, I'll tell you what. First place I thought to go to was the Mecca of the Midwest, and we're talking, the Detroit area, maybe Dearborn, Michigan. They're fresh out of moderates, fresh out. It was unbelievable, but I was not going to be deterred by that. I have found us a moderate Muslim intern hiding in a cave in Tora Bora.
Of all places.
Of all places. Well, this is where you find the most moderate of Muslims, is in Tora Bora. And, I want to introduce to folks. Now, every week what we do is we start the show with a few what we call hot topics. These are the things that are going on right now, even as we speak, that deserve some time on the air. So every week now we are going to have those hot topics sent over to us from a cave in Tora Bora from our brand new moderate Muslim intern, Mohammed Hussein Obam.
Welcome, Muhammad.
Oh, God. I am going to get so tired of listening to that. Here are, fresh from the caves of Tora Bora, we've got several topics to talk about today. Now, first of all, Diane, you and I both, me on, Monday, you on Tuesday, we both penned articles in our respective blogs regarding log cabin Republicans, the gay Republican crowd, and we both had a very good reason for doing this. It's just getting to be over the top when you look at social media and the way Republicans and conservatives are treating the gay element of the Republican Party.
Exactly, because they don't understand that the vast majority of gay Americans want exactly what we want. They want to live the American dream, to live with and love their partner of choice. They are not the ones pushing the over-the-top gay agenda like organizations like GLAAD are. They just want to be our equals as far as legally.
Well, and you know what GLAAD is. GLAAD is like a bowl of granola. One ain't fruits and nuts is flakes. And I'll tell you what, they are a very loud minority,
yes,
really, in the gay community. Now, let's face the facts. I would say probably the overwhelming majority of the gay community are liberals, because they've been made to feel like victims, and the only party that panders to victims, of course, is the Liberal Party, the Democrats. But there are folks, whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, there are gay conservatives, and they are out there.
Absolutely. And the thing is, their numbers are growing through organizations like Log Cabin Republicans. They have put the Constitution before all else, just like we have. And these are the people we need to welcome into the party because, guys, November is all about numbers. If we don't get those numbers to retake the Senate and increase our numbers in the House, it's over. So we have to put these social issues aside because they don't belong in the election anyway because they're states' issues.
Yeah, right. You want to fight those things in the state. Whatever state you happen to live in, that's where you want to take those issues and keep them off the general election ballot nationwide because they don't belong on the nationwide ballot. But the gay Republicans right now are feeling ostracized by the conservative wing of the Republican Party. There is no reason to do this, people. No reason whatsoever. Now, look, we're not saying that you need to amend your religious beliefs or set aside your religious doctrines. You don't even have to set aside your opinions on it. But leave those opinions and those doctrines outside the voting booth. We've got people who are willing to help. We've got gay Americans, conservatives, that are willing to go out and hit the campaign trail. They're willing to bring people from their own community over to our side if they can, and they're willing to get out there and vote. If we continue to ostracize that wing of the conservative party, we are going to be losing those conservative votes. They won't vote for the liberal. They'll just stay home, which essentially is the same thing.
Exactly. And remember what happened in 2012 when certain pastors across the country, pastors who bought into the Chisholm nonsense, told their congregations to stay home and not vote for Mitt Romney simply because he was a Mormon. Remember
a
the
Mormon?
line, better
Mormon?
a Muslim that we know than a Mormon we don't know. That's what they said, and 3 million of their followers heeded their call and didn't vote. Well, I hope they're happy with what they got, because the rest of us sure the hell aren't. And we cannot let that happen with the gay community. The gay conservatives want to vote on the right side. They don't agree with the liberal side, and yet our side is ostracizing them, and it's just wrong. We need to include them. Inclusion is not a dirty word when the end justifies the means. We need to include them and welcome them within the Republican Party, because their core values are our values.
Now, folks, if you want to know more about this, if you want to, get really up to speed on what we're talking about here, I would invite you to check out Diane's blog from the Patriot Factor yesterday. Check out the National Patriot from Monday. You'll find 2 great articles there, and pretty much puts it all in perspective for you. It gives you 2 different sides that lead to the same conclusion. And let's be a little bit more careful out there when we're going through social media as to who we're ostracizing, because if we're going to downplay the very people that are willing to step up to the plate and give us a hand, not only in 2014 but 2016, we're actually shooting ourselves in the foot. Now,
Exactly.
The next hot topic we have, you had a great victory down there in the state of Florida last night, Diane.
Yes, we did. We had David Jolly beating Alex Sink. Sink sunk. She has been in politics just too long down here. We don't need her. We need to let her go. But the problem is, there are some still within our own party who can't accept this win either. They say he's too much of an establishment Republican. People need to let this go. We have to vote whoever has the R next to their name, because we need those numbers. You don't like the candidate? Hold your nose and pull the lever anyway. Because if you don't, you're actually giving your vote to the other side. So we need to congratulate Jolly, support him, and get more like him into office.
Now, here's my advice for the folks down in Florida 13. You've got 5 months, because he's going to have to go right back into campaign mode. This was a special election.
Yes.
He has to run to maintain that seat in November. So you've got just a few months. Here's my advice. Hold his feet to the fire. If you think he is too much of an establishment guy, hold his feet to the conservative fire. Force him to do what you want him to do. If he does toe the conservative line between now and November, rehire him, elect him again, and continue to hold his feet to the fire. If he does not, find yourself a different conservative. But there is no reason at this point to go on the warpath against David Jolly. Now, let me also tell you how close this was last night. It was a 2-point victory. I think it was 49-47. Jolly came out on top. But here is the thing you got to bear in mind. Alex Sink, she spent 4-1 over David Jolly in that race. 4-1. And she had the name recognition. This is his first office that he has ever held. So he literally came from nowhere. And here's the real interesting part about this, Diane. Debbie What's-Her-Name Schultz came out this morning and said, well, it should have been a lot wider margin. Really, this is a victory for the Democrats because it was only a 2-point loss for us, and it should have been a lot more.
What people don't understand about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who we down here kindly refer to her as the poodle or Obama's little lapdog. I don't care if you win by 1 vote. A win is a win is a win. And these Democrats need to get off their high horse and say, well, you didn't win by enough. And the other thing that people need to realize is Alex Sink was backed by the Clintons, and even the Clintons couldn't save it for her.
Well, you're right. I mean, Bill Clinton went down there. He actually campaigned for her in Florida 13. She was the hand-chosen candidate of Nancy Pelosi. And you also have to keep this in mind when you think about this victory for David Jolly. She outspent him 4-1. She had the name recognition. She had the Clinton machine behind her. She was handpicked by Nancy Pelosi, and Florida 13 is a district that was won by Obama in 2008 and again in 2012.
Exactly. So and you have to remember also what Jolly campaigned on: Obamacare. Obamacare lost.
It's a
and
referendum.
That is a good prelude to November.
It's a referendum on Obamacare
Yes.
in a microcosm down in Florida 13. Alex Sink said, "Oh, no, we don't need to repeal it. We just need to fix it, and we will fix it. When you hire me, when you elect me, I will make sure that Obamacare gets fixed." On the other hand, David Jolly, the victor in Florida 13, said, "Repeal it. Get rid of it. It's broken.
Exactly.
It's never going to work. Got to go." And
Exactly.
that was the campaign. It was back and forth and back and forth. And David Jolly, the Republican, the conservative candidate on Obamacare, won the day.
Yes, and down here we're all saying bring it on, because this is a foreboding for the Democrats of what's going to happen in November. We're going to steamroll over any of the Democrats who support the monstrosity known as Obamacare. It doesn't work.
And we're going to have a lot more to say about Obamacare before the end of the show, too. So you don't want to miss that coming up a little bit later. Now, here's a story, Diane, that really has not gotten a whole lot of press over the last couple of months, and that's Benghazi. Benghazi happened over 400 days ago.
Yes.
And we get little bits, little pieces of the truth, and yet nobody to this day is being held responsible. Not one person.
Well, the thing you're saying, little bits of the truth, we're getting no truth. We're getting what Obama's people will allow us to get. Anyone who comes forward with the truth is silenced. They're demoted in rank if they're on the military end. The civilians that were working at the compound, where are they? They've been sequestered away somewhere. We're not getting the truth. We know the truth from our digging, from our sources, from the internet, from the different bloggers. We all know the truth, but we still cannot get the fat cats in D.C., Obama, and all his minions to say Benghazi was a gun and weapons running operation that went from Libya through Benghazi into Turkey and then over to the al-Qaeda-backed Syrian rebels. Barack Hussein Obama, in my opinion, was funding, supplying the enemy. And this is why we're not getting the truth about Benghazi, because he needs it hidden. As most people know, right from day one, I have said that Ambassador Stevens found out what was happening in Benghazi and was going to go public. I believe Benghazi was a hit on Stevens. The other three, Sean Smith, Glenn Dougherty, Tyrone Woods, were collateral damage. That's how little our president thinks of those who are there to protect us. This is only my opinion, but it's an opinion that others are picking up on, including some of the big shots over, the big shot broadcasters. You have to put two and two together. The whole lead up to Benghazi. The compounds were attacked before Benghazi. The British ambassador was attacked before Benghazi. You have to follow the trail.
Well, not only that, and not only is Obama the one that's really on the hot seat now, but trust me on this, Hillary Clinton is not out of the woods on this. And if she decides to run, now, and we're going to discuss possible candidates towards the end of the show, but if she decides to run, she is going to be front and center on this Benghazi thing, because it was up to her to take the 3 a.m. phone call. She was the Secretary of State. This was a State Department compound in Benghazi that was attacked. These were State Department employees. The initial 2 that were killed were State Department employees. She missed that 3 a.m. phone call, and she had the unmitigated gall to stand there or sit there in front of the committee and say, at this point, what difference does it make? Well, I'll tell you what difference it makes. 4 great Americans are dead, and nobody is being held responsible. Somebody knew this was coming. Somebody saw it coming, and nobody did a thing.
That's not all of it either. Remember, Ambassador Stevens sent pleas for help weeks and months before, saying the compound was not secure. Hillary Clinton ignored his emails, out and out ignored a United States ambassador's pleas for help. What does she do instead? Our guys get rubber bullets, and the people guarding the compound are the enemy. Benghazi stinks from the top to the bottom, and we're not going to let this go. We owe it to those 4 Americans who were murdered, and our government has a hand in that murder.
We are not going to let it go. Diane is absolutely right. We're going to stay on top of this on Right Side Patriots. We're going to continue to update you whenever we get any information, whether it's leaking out, whether it comes from an upcoming committee hearing, no matter what it is, we are going to put it on this show, because it's important that we keep Benghazi front and center, just as we do Obamacare, just as we do the IRS scandal, just as we do everything else. This is an important story that the mainstream media wishes would go away. Obama and his ilk in the regime are trying to bury this story. We're not going to let that happen. Simply not going to let it happen.
Absolutely. It's too important, because if we let it disappear, if we sweep it under the rug, we could very well end up with Hillary Clinton. Although I don't believe she's going to run, but if she did decide to run, if we let Benghazi go away, she's going to walk into that White House.
Well, stay tuned, folks, because we're going to have updates on this as often as we can get them. So Benghazi is going to be one of our primary targets on Right Side Patriots. But before we leave you here at the bottom of the hour to take a break, there is another story, Diane, that is literally all over the news, because it is absolutely so strangely bizarre. And I'm talking about Flight 370 out of Malaysia. The thing has completely disappeared.
Yes, I'm going to be posting an op-ed on the Patriot Factor tomorrow and all across Facebook and the internet on my take about this. And my son and I were talking about it today, and we made a little joke. It's almost like the TV show Lost come to life. A plane just disappeared.
It vanished. Now, here's the thing that it gets more strange, I guess, by the day. Yesterday, somebody in the Malaysian military was saying that they actually tracked 370. It made a turn to the west, flew back over land, really diverting from its intended path, and then disappeared from radar. Then, later last night, that same military guy came out and said, no, that never happened. So,
exactly.
Was the plane on track? Was it off track? It disappeared at roughly 34,000 feet. The last transponder reading came from 34,000 feet. Now, as I understand it, there are only a couple of ways that transponder is going to get shut off. One is if it is shut off from the cockpit manually. And number 2, in case of a catastrophic disaster, it might shut off. Now, the problem we have here is that in the search area where they've been conducting the searches, and there are now 10 different nations that are searching for this plane, not one piece of debris, not one bit of airline fuel has been found on the surface of the water. They have today now expanded the search area to, get this, 37,000 nautical miles.
Well, here's another little goodie that surfaced fairly recently. Now word is saying that there were 20 world-class electronic engineers who all work for the same company, a company that designs and manufactures electronic weaponry, guess what, for our Department of Defense. Weaponry that allows planes and ships to disappear, quote unquote, from radar. I'm still looking into that, if that's true or not. But reports are surfacing that these are not all Americans. No, these are different high-tech engineers from different companies, but working for the same American company. It's a lead. It could be nothing. And what people don't realize is when the pilot turned the plane, he might have been trying to land somewhere. He might have known his plane was in trouble and was trying to land and went down, maybe not in the water, but maybe over land. And there's also another scenario. Was this plane hijacked and taken somewhere? Remember, there were 2 Iranians on that plane, both of them with stolen passports and both of them with one-way tickets.
You know, Diane, last night I had the opportunity to speak with a buddy of mine, John Matthews, on his radio show. And by the way, folks, I believe John is going to be joining the broadcast staff here at CPR very shortly. But John, when he was over in Vietnam, in the Vietnam War, his job over there was looking out for submarines off the coast of South Vietnam. Well, this is very close to the area where this plane disappeared. The waters in that area are only about 250 to 300 feet deep. John said if that thing is in the water, it would be found. We would have found debris by now. We would have found oil slicks. We would have found fuel slicks. And he said because of the clarity of the water and the shallow depth at 250 to 300 feet, you would actually be able to see the plane if it was on the bottom of the ocean via satellites.
Exactly.
None of this has been found. He has a theory that the plane may have landed in Vietnam. He said there are airstrips all over Vietnam that are never used anymore.
Right, they're left over from the war.
Left over from the war. He said that plane could have touched down. It could be sitting there for whatever purpose, a hijacking, kidnapping, whatever the case might be. But folks, we got to caution you. This is all speculation. We have absolutely no honest, real idea what happened to this 777 with 239 people on board. It has simply vanished.
Well, here's a very scary scenario, and it hit me last night, and I would hate to think this is true. And again, I'm not an expert, I'm just a layman. But was this plane hijacked with echoes of 9/11 at its heart? Could the plane have been hijacked and the passengers killed for the plane itself, as in to secure the plane, put it into cold storage, so to speak, for later use as a targeted missile against U.S. interests, or maybe Israel, Tel Aviv, perhaps? Because remember, there were 2 Iranians on that plane with stolen passports and one-way tickets.
I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting when and if we ever find out what happened to that plane. And we've got such a great show coming up for you. We've got so much more to talk about. But I want to tell you, we've got an exclusive interview coming up right after the break that we're about to take. Joe Chamberlain, Sergeant Joe Chamberlain, one of the United States Marines a couple of years ago that was in a video where they were peeing on the bodies of dead Taliban. This interview is going to give you some insight that you have probably never heard before regarding this situation.
Absolutely. And Joe is a great guy. He and I have had quite a few conversations about this. What most people don't realize is Sergeant Chambers contacted me because I was the one that started the national petition in support of the Marines who peed on the Taliban. What most people don't realize, and Joe will go into detail about it, but what most people don't realize is when they peed on the Taliban, they defiled their bodies. According to Islam, when a body is defiled, it cannot go to Allah, it cannot go to paradise. They gave them a double whammy. Those Taliban are damned to hell according to Islam, and that's exactly where they belong.
We've got to take a quick break. We'll be back with that interview if our new intern, Mohammed Hussein Obam, has it loaded up. Hey, Mohammed, you got that thing loaded? You got it ready?
Dad, Katy Perry is coming to town. Can we get tickets, please?
Tickets? Sure, how many?
Well, there's Hannah and Maddie and Jen and Sarah and Sarah.
Whoa, hold on. Here it comes. We can't forget about your older sister.
Thank you.
Seriously? What? I get 2 times the thank you points on each ticket. Can I come? Yeah.
The City Thank You Preferred Card. Now earn 2 times the points on entertainment and dining out with no annual fee. To apply, go to city.com/thankyoucards.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
The network wants to treat me right. Y'all can take the change and stick it out of sight. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for some good news? We're gonna take back our country. Well, it used to be easy, get a place, build a house. Now the EPA said no, that's the home of the blue mouse. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. We're gonna use some common sense and we're gonna take back our country. Well, they've beaten to death that pole race horse. This politically correct thing has run its course. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for some good news? We're gonna take back our country. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Bing. Lots of divorces from showing them bang.
Why don't you mind your own business?
That's good advice.
Mind your own business.
Dad got it right.
Cause if you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine.
Every sign says for sale, for lease. Price reduced, make an offer, please. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for some good news? We're gonna take back our country. There's no way today we could build Boulder Dam. There'd be way too many government permit scams. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for the good news? We're gonna take back this country. Hey, Barack, pack your bags, head to Chicago. Take your teleprompter with you so you'll know where to go.
So move it all over. Move it all over. Move it all over. Move
Side Patriots. You know, we've been plugging this pretty much all week so far today on the show, but we have got a fantastic guest, and you're not going to believe some of the stuff you're going to hear. I'm going to let Diane do the introduction here. Diane, you know a lot about this topic and a lot about our guests, so give us a little background, why don't you?
Sure, happy to. Our honored guest today is Sergeant Joseph Chamberlain, who was a scout sniper for the 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, who earned the personal congratulations of the Commandant and Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps for his work in the Helmand Province in Afghanistan. By January 2012, then Staff Sergeant Chamberlain was up for promotion to Gunnery Sergeant and set to redeploy to Afghanistan when a video surfaced showing him and 3 other scout snipers urinating on Taliban corpses during a patrol in Helmand's Musa Kala district in July 2011. After pleading guilty at a special court-martial to his role in the urination incident that came to be known as Urinegate, Chamberlain lost a rank and left the Marine Corps as a sergeant in October. When I heard about this incident, I could not believe that our brave Marines were being called to task for an act that actually had a strong psychological effect on the enemy. Because what most people don't know is that if a Muslim's body is defiled by an infidel, it means that person is not going to Allah or paradise, a double whammy for a vile enemy. Knowing this and wanting to show these brave Marines that we Patriots stood by them, I started a page on Facebook called Stand United with Our Marine Heroes Against Urinegate, along with a corresponding national petition to show them that they had the American people's support in spite of how our government reacted to an incident that should have been met with kudos, not with condemnation. Through my Facebook page, I had the honor of personally speaking with Sergeant Chamberlain, who is now writing a book with Milo Afong, author of Hogs in the Shadows, called Into Infamy, about the Taliban incident and Joe's personal journey through the war.
You know, it's great to have you on the show today, Sergeant, an infidel of the first order, I might add. Welcome to Right Side Patriots.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
This all happened a couple of years ago, but it's really, or at least it should still be, a major news story because of what happened. Now, what I'm going to do here, Sergeant, is I'm going to ask you to kind of take us back to maybe a few days before the incident started. Now, you were there with your Marine brothers, and there was an incident where one of your fellow Marines was killed by an IED, if I remember right?
Yeah, there were a lot of Marines that were killed by IEDs in that area. Probably a couple months prior to that, my snipers was killed by an IED as well. But we had gotten intel that one of the major manufacturing areas and certain individuals were working in the area where that operation was conducted, so we planned a mission to go down there and disrupt enemy's activity and hopefully eliminate those individuals.
Now, so you're there, you're with another group of Marines, and a firefight breaks out.
Yeah, we initiated an ambush on the insurgents, killed 3 right off the bat, and it turned into about a 6-hour engagement back and forth.
Tell us how many, roughly how many Marines against how many insurgents in this particular firefight?
We had one of my sniper teams was down there, so you had the sniper team reinforced with myself as platoon commander and my platoon sergeant, and then we had also brought another security attachment with some other assets. So it was about a 20-man force, and there was estimated about 50 to 100 enemy in the area.
So 20 Marines against 100 enemies doesn't even seem like a fair fight to me. They should have brought more people.
Yeah, they could have.
Now, along those lines, can I ask you something? There's been rumors, and it's kind of more than rumors. Actually, you guys are forced to fight with your hands tied behind your back because of the Obama administration's policy of winning the hearts and minds of the enemy instead of fighting to win. As Marine snipers, were your hands also tied behind your backs to what you could and could not do?
We were, given rules of engagement. Those are the rules of engagement we had to follow. When it comes to the hearts and the minds, our role as scout snipers was never the same as your regular infantry guys to go out and engage and talk with. Win the hearts and minds. Our job was to hunt down those that couldn't do one and eliminate them.
Okay, better them than us. And by the way, thank you for your service.
I just did my job.
It's more than a job. What you guys do is more than a job.
You know, if it wasn't for our armed forces, the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Marines, we wouldn't be a free nation today. So, you know, but this is the kind of response you get when you talk to somebody who's been in those situations. You thank them for their service. You can call them a hero till you're blue in the face. And all they'll tell you is, hey, I was just doing my job. Well, your job is to keep us free, and thanks doesn't even begin to cut it as far as we're concerned. But, okay, so you get in this firefight, you do your job, you eliminate several of the enemy. Then, as I understand it, Sergeant, you were supposed to go recover the bodies, correct?
Yes, we were ordered to recover the bodies by the operations officer.
And that's when this all takes place. So take us back to those moments. You guys have been gathering up the insurgents that you had taken out, and what takes place?
We brought them back into the compound where we had constructed our firing position. Once they were in there, they were just there. They stayed there while we were exfilling the rest of the guys out, making sure everyone was good. And I guess somewhere along the line, someone was like, you know what? Piss on these guys. So we're like, you know what? Fuck it. We just pissed on them. Me and a couple of my snipers and one attachment security guy. Those are the four that beat on them.
What I don't understand about the whole thing is when they charged you guys, they charged you with dereliction of duty. How could that be? You were charged specifically with dereliction of duty for failing to properly supervise junior Marines. How does this in any way amount to dereliction of duty? Because what you did actually denied them entrance to Allah and paradise. You actually gave them a double whammy there.
It's semantics is what it really is. When you read into the definition, legal definition, dereliction can also mean anything that brings discredit upon the service. So in the hire's eyes and, political mindset, it was a dereliction of duty because I wasn't protecting the image of the Marine Corps in the United States.
No, better to protect the image than to give the enemy a little payback that they so rightly deserve. They had just killed one of your brothers in arms, and they are more concerned about image than doing what's right. It just doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I got involved in this whole thing and started the page and started the petition.
Well, and that petition really got circulated around. I mean, Sergeant, you guys even heard about it when you were still in the Marines, is that correct?
Oh, yeah. I've heard about it numerous times. I've seen it floating around through the internet, so on and so forth, the petition.
Let me ask you this, based on something you said and kind of following up with what Diane just said, do you think the entire incident was blown out of proportion purely by politics?
I think the politics and the political aspect of it definitely played a large part in how it was handled. There was definitely a reaction that I think catered to the needs of the politicians and the political environment at that given time.
Absolutely, and the politics of divisiveness and division is so strong in this country today. But what you guys actually did was an honorable thing. Would you do the exact same thing again today that you did then?
Oh, yeah. I don't regret doing it. I regret some of the aftermath and the trouble that it caused my fellow Marines, but I don't regret doing it. I'd do it again.
Great. Now, and if we could all join you, we'd join you in it.
Now, let me ask you this, because that's a good point. You say you regret the some of the negative things that befell your fellow Marines after the incident went public. Now, the incident took place in July. It did not go public until the following January. So there's a good 6 months, 5 to 6 months in there that nobody even knew this took place. But when you guys, you and your fellow Marines that were in this incident, when you guys were brought up on charges, what was the reaction of other Marines to those charges? I mean, how did they feel about the negative publicity that this got?
My fellow scout snipers and the guys that were in my platoon that have fought with me, and even a lot of the regular infantry guys, supported us 100%. But the higher up, your battalion level officers, senior enlisted and higher, basically turned their back on all of us.
Yeah, how did that make you feel? I mean, you guys are out there. You're putting your lives on the line. You're a sniper team. You're out there. Look, I understand that, as snipers, you do everything you can to maintain cover, but let's face it, you're still out there in the open. Anything could go wrong. You could be spotted. So how does it make you feel when you're putting your lives on the line and other Marines are not backing you up?
It's disheartening to see what you thought was a band of brothers really turn out to not so much be that way. The biggest thing that bothered me about it wasn't so much my personal feelings, but the fact that I had put together and built probably, I could say without a doubt, the best scout sniper platoon the Marine Corps has seen in Vietnam. And instead of those guys getting the recognition that they deserve, the only thing anyone knows about is a 39-second video.
I need to ask you, and it's something that Craig touched upon about the political aspect. This video was done 6 months before it surfaced all over the Internet. Do you know who actually betrayed you guys and why they did it?
I'm not really sure how that. No, I know it wasn't anyone in my platoon. There's been different rumors, but as far as knowing exactly who did it or why, I'm not really sure.
Okay, it's just something a lot of people here have been wondering, and on my Facebook page supporting you, people have asked me that, and I really didn't know how to answer them because the politics in this country, as you know, is very dirty now. And and we have a president who defames and dishonors our military every chance he gets. Is it possible, and I know you can't answer in absolutes, but is it possible that this video was a setup?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Obviously, Sergeant, you know who shot the video. I mean, there's 4 of you guys there and somebody's shooting the video. But once it's shot, you had no idea where it went from there and who eventually then made it go public.
Yeah, pretty much that explains it.
Okay. Now, so this all happens. You're charged with dereliction of duty, which, is kind of an all-encompassing catch-all. When they don't know exactly what to charge you with, they just charge you with that because that covers a whole number of things. So you go in and you don't even try to get out. You just said, yeah, I did it, right?
Yeah, it's they brought in a whole bunch of charges like they normally do, and then I pled guilty to the ones that I actually did. I pled guilty to being on the guys, and I pled guilty to violating the journal order that said we weren't supposed to take any type of pictures or videos that weren't for intelligence purposes. So I pled guilty for what I did.
That took a lot of guts, by the way, to plead guilty to that, knowing...
Done the right things.
Yeah, but it took a lot of guts knowing that you were going to get flack for taking responsibility for your actions. And that's something that's solely missing in our country today. People refuse to take responsibility for their own actions. And you doing that, you're actually a role model for many Americans today to strive to be like you, to take responsibility for what they do. And you did it.
Well, I'm not trying to be anybody's role model. I'm just trying to do the right thing.
See, there you go again. There's the typical response from a great Marine. I'm just doing what's right, Look, Sergeant, you were up for a promotion. You were very near becoming a gunny. They bust you back to sergeant. You leave the Marine Corps when this is all over. And what are you doing now?
Well, I'm still part owner in a tattoo shop there in Jacksonville, North Carolina, right outside Camp Lejeune. So 50% shareholder in that. I've started my own residential construction company here in Eastern Tennessee around the Oak Ridge, Knoxville area. It's starting to pick up and do really good. And I subcontract for a company down in Atlanta and do some work down there. Things are coming around, and we're just about done with the book and here next month.
Let's get into this book in the minutes that we have remaining here. You have co-authored this book. This is the story, basically, of what happened, correct?
The actual story of what happened is, a chapter in the book. The biggest part of the book and the main focus and reason for the book isn't so much to tell the story about the video, but to tell the story of, what a man goes through as a sniper through war, and to really let people see, hear, and know quality of Marines that I had the opportunity to lead over there and all their accomplishments. And hopefully we get rid of that overshadowing that video has brought.
Okay, so the video, the incident, what we're talking about today is only a chapter in the book, and yet you're having difficulty finding a publisher for this book.
Yeah, a lot of your larger liberal-leaning publishers in New York City and so forth aren't real thrilled about publishing this book. I don't know. I'm assuming it has to do with some of the political aspects, or they just told me that I need to look at maybe some smaller, more conservative publishers.
And like I told you, I will make a phone call to Karen and Billy Vaughn, who had their book about Extortion 17 and their son Aaron published through a smaller publisher, because this is a story that needs to get out because people don't know the truth. We only know what's being fed to us by the mainstream media, and you know how left they lean. So we don't get the truth about what actually happened. We're not told that one of your brothers in arms was killed just a few days before. We're not told any of that.
Yeah, not only that, but it sounds to me, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like the book is more about being a Marine than about what happened on that particular day in July. And I would think that a book like that, if people had a chance to read it, find out what life as a Marine is like, especially in the field, this would be a book that people would have a great deal of interest in, even if none of this video, none of this other stuff had ever been known or had ever even taken place. This would still be a compelling book.
I would like to think so. I mean, it's really the main stories of the guys and how everything had happened and what they did, and even goes into kind of the after effects and things that happen to people when they come back and try to assimilate back into life.
How did that go for you? I mean, you come back, there's no such thing as a former Marine. You're once a Marine, you're always a Marine. But you come back to the world, and what was the reaction when you came back? I mean, hard to find work. I mean, you're part owner of a business. You started your own companies, but what was it like coming back?
It is hard to find work. I tried to initially do some of the contracting work, and I had some issues with people wanting to hire me because of that incident, even though I was qualified or overqualified for the majority of the contract positions. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to just finish my business degree up and pursue my own companies. And tired of waiting or trying to get on with different security contractors and so on and so forth, that once they learned of who I was, that they no longer wanted me to work with them.
And that's add commentary on what's going on here now.
It really is.
A hero are treated as a pariah, and that irks me no end. Because of this president, people are losing respect for the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe and free at home. And you guys are made into the enemy. And it just bothers me every day.
Well, and here's one other point that I want to sneak in the couple of minutes we have left here, is that one of the reasons that, this was so politically charged seems to be that they were afraid it was going to upset the Karzai government in Afghanistan. Now, that government is probably one of the most corrupt governments on earth. We know that Karzai's own brother is a huge drug supplier. Karzai is bending over backwards for the Taliban, slamming the United States every chance he gets. what are the chances that any that you guys could have done differently would have made Karzai and his government less anti-American at this point? Seriously.
No, I don't know. I see and understand the big strategic picture, but it's not really my place to speak on it. I don't know if there's anything we could have done, to be honest with you.
I mean, it seems to me this is one incident out of, years in the field in Afghanistan. This could not possibly have set Karzai off. It's just an excuse, it seems to me. We're talking about the Taliban here. We're talking about some of the most bloodthirsty of the enemy on earth when we talk about these people. And I'll tell you what, for my money, Sergeant, I'm right with you. I wouldn't have hesitated one moment to do what you and your brothers in arms did that day.
Either would I, because you did the right thing. And the American people are behind you. The American people stood with you. Our government might not have. But the amount of signatures I got on that petition proved that we, the people, stood with you.
It's always good to know.
Yes. And that petition was sent off to D.C. What they did with it, obviously, I have no way of knowing anything. But you got a tremendous amount of signatures. And the petition was written up in, I believe it was the Washington Times, and some military journals.
Yep.
They just wanted you to know that the American people supported what you did, what your brothers in arms did, and we stood behind you.
Oh, that's always nice to know.
And we still do, Sergeant. Sergeant Joe Chamberlain has been our guest today on Right Side Patriots. And, Sergeant, I can't thank you enough for taking your time today to be with us and help get this story out. And let's see what we can do to find you a publisher for this book so everybody can know what it's like to be out there in the field with the best of the best. And I'm talking about the United States Marine Corps. Sergeant, thank you again for being with us today. We look forward to seeing that book actually in print.
We sure do. We sure do. And thank you, Sergeant, like Craig said, for being our guest, and it's been an honor to speak with you.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
Sergeant Joe Chamberlain, great American, great Marine. He's a stand-up guy. He took the action that he took, and then he took responsibility for it. I don't know what more you want from our guys in uniform, but there is an outstanding Marine, in my opinion.
Thanks.
And that was our taped interview with Sergeant Joe Chamberlain. Diane and I caught up to him for our exclusive Right Side Patriots interview on Monday over his lunch hour. Diane, it was absolutely so cool to have Sergeant Chamberlain on with us today.
Absolutely, because his story, the truth, needs to get out, because the alphabet media didn't give us the truth. Obama didn't give us the truth. Nobody gave us the truth about what really happened that day. And that this was payback. And this also was an added whammy on the enemy. And that's what Barack Hussein Obama and his ilk forget. The Taliban is the enemy.
Well, and we couldn't talk about it in the interview with him, and he can't really bring it up. But we can tell our listeners that he is appealing the decision that was made in his case. And as we get updates regarding that appeal, we will bring those to you. And when the case is finally resolved, when the appeal is done, we just might have Sergeant Joe Chamberlain back on the phone with us.
Absolutely no might. We will. Because we will follow up with this story, just like we'll follow up with Benghazi. Too many loose ends have been going on in this country, and Right Side Patriots is not going to have loose ends. We're going to tie them up.
That's the way we do it on Right Side Patriots. We got to take another quick break here. When we come out of the break, I've got a little song for you, and I guarantee you probably will have no idea who's singing. You see if you can figure it out, and we'll tell you right after this.
Dad, Katy Perry is coming to town. Can we get tickets, please?
Tickets? Sure, how many?
Well, there's Hannah and Maddie and Jen and Sarah and Sarah.
Whoa, hold on. Here it comes. We can't forget about your older sister.
Thank you.
Seriously? What? I get 2 times the thank you points on each ticket. Oh, can I come? Yeah.
The City Thank You Preferred Card. Now earn 2 times the points on entertainment and dining out with no annual fee. To apply, go to city.com/thankyoucards.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, and be better off than you are. Or won't you rather be a mule? A mule is an animal with long funny ears. He kicks up at anything he hears. His back is brawny and his brain is weak. He's just plain stupid with a stubborn streak. And by the way, if you hate that old school, you may grow up to be a mule. Or would you like to swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, and be better off than you are? Or would you rather be a fish? A fish is an animal that swims in a brook. You can't write his name or read a book. To fool the people is his only thought, and though he's slippery, he still gets caught. If that sort of life is what you wish, you may grow up to be a fish. Delish. Or would you like to swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, and be better off than you are? Or would you rather be a pig? A pig is an animal with dirt on his face. His shoes are a terrible disgrace. He's got no manners when he eats his food. He's fat and lazy and extremely rude. But if you don't care a feather or a fig, you may grow up to be a pig. And all the monkeys on in the zoo, every day you see quite a few. So you see, it's all up to you. You could be better than you are. You could be swinging on a star. You could be swinging on a star. You could be swinging on a star. Tommy, yes Eddie. You could be swinging on a star. You could be swinging on a star. You could be swinging on a star, my man. Hey, don't I know it? You could be swinging on a star. You could be swinging on a star. Let's take it home. You could be swinging on a star.
You could be swinging on a star with Diane Sori and Craig Andreessen, the Right Side Patriots, right here on CPR Worldwide Media Network. Diane, that is one of my favorite recordings of that particular song. And I'll bet you there aren't very many people out there who have any idea who was singing that.
I don't think they'll guess it in a million years.
You know, unless you saw the movie, you probably wouldn't know. And it wasn't that highly rated of a movie, so not that many people saw it. But 2 of Hollywood's biggest tough guys were singing that in the movie. That is Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello.
Amazing. I mean, I knew obviously who it was, but when you first told me about it, I had no clue.
I mean, it's so cool to have guys like that doing a song like that, and I couldn't help but play it on the show, and it's one of those things that now you'll go looking for the theme music or the CD for Hudson Hawk, and you'll be playing that for your friends and playing Guess Who This Is, and it's a lot of fun. I've fooled a lot of people with that over the years. So there you go, Swinging on a Star, Hudson Hawk, Bruce Willis, Danny Aiello, and we're back with Right Side Patriots. You know, one of the things that's just an ongoing source of irritation, I'm sure, for the Obama regime is what's happening over in the Ukraine and with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, the man who is single-handedly demasculating Barack Hussein Obama. And it gets worse every day. Obama turns into, as they say, a pussy more and more every day. The man could not stand up to a wet noodle.
And you've got some breaking news and some information on this, too. The Ukraine has a bunch of gold. Now, they're a little concerned because they're watching as Putin is literally putting back together the old Soviet Union, as a KGB agent would want to do. And they're getting a little nervous about how they back their currency and with their gold. And, Diane, you've got some breaking news on that.
Yeah, apparently the Ukrainian leadership is sending its gold supplies over to the United States to be stored at Fort Knox, which to me is a little bit suspicious because we're not supporting them militarily. And yes, I know about the 1994 treaty that was in place, but when Putin sent his troops in, the treaty was nullified. And yet, we didn't stick up for them, but they're sending their gold here. Something stinks. And the stink is Obama.
You got to wonder, too, because, does the Ukraine, do they realize that we don't trust Obama with the keys to Fort Knox? We don't trust him with our tax money. We don't trust him with the gold in Fort Knox. And yet they're willing to ship their gold over here?
Exactly. He's made the United States a laughingstock in the world, and he's the head clown, and yet they're trusting us with their money. There's other countries they could have sent their money to Britain, to England, to France. But no, they're sending it here, the one country that's not standing up for them. Yeah, we're bloviating. Obama's doing his usual bloviating rhetoric. We'll do this, we'll do that, blah, 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 blah. And he does nothing. And yet, they're sending billions in gold over here. Very suspicious to me.
It is. You really got to wonder what they're thinking and what they're doing. Plus, you've got all these pipelines that run from the Ukraine, and they go through the Crimea. There's, they are the fuel source, the energy source for a good deal of Europe, and also for China, for that matter. And all of this stuff is going on. Have you noticed the price of gas? Gas, again, is going up in price. A gallon of gas at our pumps going up. And it's all because of what's going on in the Ukraine right now, because oil futures trade on futures. They have to forecast what's going to happen. And as long as Obama is holding out on building the Keystone XL pipeline from Canada down to Texas, we're at everybody else's mercy.
Exactly. And Putin is also holding Europe economically hostage. They need that oil and that natural gas that comes through those pipelines. And he keeps moving like he is. He's going to shut them all down.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that the Ukraine, let's just say right now that Crimea is solidly in the hands of Putin and the new Soviet Union? There's going to be some sort of a canned vote over there about whether Crimea should stay as part of Russia or whether they should stay as part of the Ukraine. Putin's going to have that thing doctored up. There's no sense in having a vote. You can tell the outcome already. But
exactly.
let's say Crimea is solidly in the hands of the new Soviet Union. Do you really honestly believe the Ukraine is next? I do.
I do, for the simple reason the Ukraine doesn't have the military power to stand up against Putin. They have a limited number of planes, a limited number of ships, a limited number of men. And yes, they're calling up all their reserves, but it doesn't even come to a fraction of what Putin has built his army up to. While we've been downsizing our military, Vladimir Putin has been increasing Russia's military. We are being played for fools.
Well, and you mentioned their navy and the naval operations of the Ukraine. Taking Crimea and that region down there gives Putin the warm weather shipping port that he's been looking for. It also gives his navy easy access to the Mediterranean.
And that's something that Russia hasn't had for a number of years. And that's the main thing they wanted, was that warm weather, warm water, warm weather port. They don't have that. But now they do. And they're not going to give it up. Putin will never give up Crimea. In fact, those ballots are not printed with a choice. Those ballots are worded in such a way that no matter how you vote, Crimea goes to Russia.
Well, it's kind of like the ballots they had over in North Korea last week, where Lil Kim won 100% of the vote. Go figure.
Yeah, kind of like our ballots we had in 2012, where Romney got 0 votes in major precincts.
Even though there was registered Republicans there, even though Republicans said they went to their precinct and voted, not one single Romney vote in so many of these, liberal precincts. And, but yeah, look, Russia, Crimea, the Soviet Union. Romney said Russia was our number one geopolitical foe.
Yes.
Sarah Palin said that Russia and Putin were going to invade Ukraine. We're seeing it all happen. It's all coming true. We knew it was going to happen, and yet there sits Obama, high and mighty. I think actually he's on another vacation right now. I think he's out of the White House on another vacation. I'm not making that up.
He's in Florida, I'm sorry to say, golfing in the Keys.
While Rome burns, while Crimea burns, while the Ukraine is trembling at the thought of the return of the Soviet Union, our dictator is playing yet another round of golf.
Yep. And the people in Congress, what gets me so mad is they can take him down. But they're all, like I've said for years, afraid of the race card, afraid of it being used against them, that they are putting themselves before our country. They're as guilty of what's going on by their inaction as Barack Hussein Obama is by his actions.
And what's going to happen? I mean, are we really going to go to fisticuffs or shooting, or with Putin and Russia and the Soviet Union and the Ukraine, or are we going to try to diplomatic our way? I can't imagine diplomacy working with Putin, especially when you got this numbnuts John Kerry running the State Department. I mean, this guy would acquiesce to an earthworm.
Exactly. Well, he's a traitor. He's Jane Fonda in pants. He's a traitor. And if you realize, Obama's whole cabinet is made up of traitors to this country who don't put our country's interests first, but put the enemy's interests first. Nothing is going to happen with Putin. Putin is going to get what he wants because we don't stand up to him. Remember what Putin once said. He was friends with George W. Bush. He had been to Bush's ranch. He respected George Bush. He might have not agreed with him politically, but there was a mutual respect between the two men, and Russia did nothing under Bush's watch. Now we have the dictator, as you call him, charging in on his bicycle with his helmet and his mom jeans on, and we have him charging in against the Russian bear, who is not going to back down because he doesn't have to back down, because he knows Obama will do nothing. He's a weak man and a weak leader.
And Putin over there he made it clear that he thought the worst thing that ever happened in his neck of the woods was the dissolving of the Soviet Union. So you can see exactly what he's trying to accomplish in all of this. He's trying to rebuild the old Soviet Union. There's just no two ways around it. So what is going to happen is, who knows? Putin, it looks like, is going to get a firm grip on Crimea. He's going to get this vote because there's no other way to vote over there. And then the Ukraine becomes the square to grab on the chessboard. And there's nobody, the Europeans, they can't stand up to him on their own. They would need our help to do that. And Obama is, he keeps calling. He keeps telephoning Putin and saying, don't do this, don't do this.
Putin
I
should
think,
just hang up on his calls.
Well, and I think he does, and I think Obama just stands there and pretends to be on the phone for the next hour so it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, so he could get his photo ops in of him on the, on the red phone there.
Yeah, look, here's a picture of me on the phone with Putin, and I'm telling him not to do this. Well, Putin's going to do what Putin's going to do, and Obama can talk until he's as blue as the states that vote for him, and it's not going to make any difference. But good grief, what a situation they've got going over there.
Exactly. And you know what? Yes, Putin is the enemy, quote unquote, but you have to respect the man. He's trying to rebuild his country as the world's leading superpower, while Barack Hussein Obama is trying to demote our country into a third world country.
Well, you've got Putin, superpower, Obama, stupid power.
Exactly.
Yeah, the only way we're going to turn this around is 2016, and I really feel for the people of the Ukraine. I don't know if they can hold on for another 2 or 2.5 years, but
he went dead.
We've got another election coming up in 2016. We're going to be looking for another president, and there are any number of candidates on the Republican side. But Diane, you're kind of on record as saying that you do not believe that Hillary Clinton is actually going to run in 2016.
No, the reason I don't is because I do believe that she has had a stroke. That little boo-boo incident on her head back when she was supposed to first testify about Benghazi, I don't believe for a minute that it was from food poisoning. I think the woman had a stroke. If you look at her, she now has characteristics of someone on steroids. And the moon face, the gaining of the weight, the way she moves, the way they photograph her only in certain ways, that has led me to believe that this woman is sicker than the media is letting us to believe. Also, she will be 69 and a half years old, the same age as Reagan was when he first ran. You can never compare Hillary Clinton to Reagan. That's going to work against her age. And the last thing is, if you think back to Barack Hussein Obama in 2007, the man was groomed. And the final feather in his grooming cap was when he gave the keynote speech at Billy Boy's second nominating convention. Well, now, if you think for a minute about San Antonio Mayor Julian Castro, he is being followed in the same path by Obama's handlers. Leading up to, he gave Obama's keynote speech at this last nominating convention. This is a very dangerous man, in my opinion. He is an out-and-out communist. His mother was one of the founders of the militant Hispanic group La Raza. They do not have America's best interests at heart. He is instituting socialist policies in San Antonio. He has been to the White House countless times as a guest of the Obamas. It's a little too suspicious here. Plus, he has 2 Facebook pages, Julian Castro for president. He says on some occasions, no, I'm not going to run this cycle. The same things Obama said. I firmly believe that if this man doesn't run for president, being snuck in as they lead us to believe it's Hillary, and then she announces, no, I've decided not to run. In her heart, she has to know Benghazi will be hanging over her head. I would bet they will sneak Julian Castro in, if not as president, as vice president. And then we really have something to fear, because this man is even further to the left than Obama is, if you can even believe that. But it's true.
The thought of Julian Castro even running, much less getting elected, is a horrific thought. And, like you said, Obama's bad enough. But Julian Castro, that's just fuel to the fire. And we can't have that. Now, I still think there's a chance that Hillary is going to run, and simply because I don't think her arrogance will allow her not to. But you got to look at what happened in Florida 13 last night when Billy Boy Clinton came out and campaigned for Alex Sink, and Sink lost in a district where Obama has won twice. So maybe the bloom is off the Billy Boy Clinton campaign rose? I don't know. Now, on the other side of the coin, on the Republican side of the coin, there's all sorts of names that are being tossed around out there. And let's face it, it's too early when you have a field that's that wide open to really tell what's going to happen. But, of course, the mainstream media and the establishment, teddy bear at this point is Chris Christie. And then you've got other names that are floating around out there. I mean, there's people even theorizing that Mitt Romney might run again. There's people...
They're trying to draft him. There's a group trying to draft him to run again.
Well, and we've got groups trying to draft Alan West. There's the possibility that Marco Rubio might throw his hat in the ring. Ted Cruz might throw his hat in the ring. We're pretty certain that Rand Paul is going to run. I mean, he's making all sorts of noise in that direction, and he just won the CPAC straw poll.
But do you know something about that CPAC straw poll, which the media is not telling people? The majority of the people who voted in that poll were between the ages of 18 and 25. The Paul bots, whether father or son, the Paul bots, that age group. He did not get the older age group. It stopped at age 25. Personally, to vote for Rand Paul, I would have to hold my nose. But if he has the RX next to his name and he's the nomination, I'll have to vote for him.
Well,
and this is one thing, before we get into the candidates, this is one thing that's so, so important, people. I don't care if you don't like the person who's got the R next to their name. I don't care if you're the biggest third-party supporter in the world. A vote for a third-party candidate is a wasted vote. You're giving your votes to the Democrats. Staying home is giving your vote to the Democrat. 2014, taking back the Senate, is for the whole ball of wax. Hold your nose, pull that lever for the R, and then we can hold whoever responsible in 2016, as long as that Senate is painted red.
Well, and that's what we're going to have to do, and that goes for 2016 as well. And right now, like I said, the field is so wide open, especially for 2016 and the presidential race. We just don't know who the Republican candidates are going to be, how they're going to shake out in the mix. Mike Huckabee might be in there somewhere. I mean, he's got an exploratory committee looking at things right now. We just don't know at this point. But it's going to be real interesting leading up to 2014, because I'm telling you, once November of this year is over, it's Katie bar the door. The campaigns are going to start almost immediately.
Exactly. November 5th, they're going to be out there. Absolutely. And some of them have already gone into Iowa and started campaigns of sorts. Ted Cruz has visited Iowa. I love Ted Cruz. And yes, folks, Ted Cruz is eligible to run for president.
There's all sorts of reasons behind why he is eligible. There's a lot of people, a lot of good Tea Party people out there that are saying, no, he's not eligible. I wouldn't vote for him if he ran. I wouldn't vote for him if he was nominated. And I think what they're afraid of is that their stand originally against Barack Hussein Obama and his eligibility is going to be used against them by liberals who crawl out of the woodwork and say, well, see, you didn't want Barack Obama because he's a black man, and now you got a guy that has a questionable eligibility and you're all for him. Well, all you have to do is just look at the facts, look at the whole definition of who is and who isn't eligible, and you will see that Ted Cruz is eligible. He's looking at it. He's going to weigh this out. He's going to see where things stand probably close to the end of this year before he makes any kind of an announcement. And we'll do a whole segment on the show, maybe next week, about Ted Cruz and his eligibility.
Great.
And we'll let people know exactly why he is eligible.
Right. I did an entire op-ed on the Patriot Factor about why he is eligible that was picked up by some major sites across the internet, and every one of them have agreed. The man is eligible.
If you look at the facts, you can't deny it.
Exactly. People don't understand that nowhere in the Constitution is a definition of natural-born citizen. It's that simple. There is no definition of it.
I'm pretty sure the definition in the Constitution is right next to the phrase separation of church and state, and that's why I can't find it.
Oh, that could be. Absolutely, that could be.
Look, it's going to be a wide open field. The Republican field is going to be wide open. The Democrat field is going to be pretty narrow. Hillary, Castro, and maybe one dark horse candidate in there that we don't know yet. But,
well, you forget Uncle Joe Bite Me wants to run, and also Elizabeth Warren.
The last thing that the Democrat Party needs is Uncle Joe Bite Me and a pretend Native American.
Exactly, but they're both considering it, and that's a scary thought.
I don't think Elizabeth Warren's going to run. I don't think she has enough name recognition or a good enough track record, and I'm not just talking about her political track record, but I'm talking about when you go all the way back through her professional track record. I don't think it's going to hold up to any kind of scrutiny. And Joe Biden is just too much of a blithering idiot to get very far in the process. And if it wasn't for the Democrat, the liberal machine, when it comes to these candidacies and who they're going to pour their money into, Biden might actually stand a chance, but he's not going to get the money from the DNC.
No, he's not. And they're going to frown upon him for a number of reasons, primary of which he suffers from a very bad case of foot and mouth disease.
Boy, that's putting it mildly.
Every other word out of his mouth is some kind of guffaw, and then he tries to justify his stupidity. I mean, even the liberals have to see the man as a joke.
There's a lot of face palming going on at the DNC anytime a microphone gets near Joe Biden, because they know the guy's going to step in it every time. And,
yes.
From all indications, he's a likable guy. I mean, if you're going to sit down and have a lunch with him or something like that, he's a likable guy, and he tells jokes and things like that. But you can't take a guy like that seriously.
No, the only thing I will say about Joe Biden, and this is serious because he is the traitor's vice president. The only thing about Joe Biden is he is not a traitor to this country. His son served in the military. I will give him that.
That's about as far as I'll go with him.
Exactly. That is all I will give him. Other than that, the man, he's just a joke. People used to make fun of Dan Quayle because he spelled potato wrong. Here we have a man that does everything wrong. He's just ridiculous. He can't be taken seriously as a candidate.
He can't be taken seriously as a clown. I mean, I'm just saying. We've got to take another quick break here on Right Side Patriots, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more about Obamacare and a very serious situation involving our very own Diane Sori. It's Obamacare in action, folks, and it ain't pretty. And we need to talk about this because at this point, Obamacare is not going away. It's just going down the drain. So stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. We've got a little Big John Dickerson music for you out of the break, and we'll be right back.
Why do cities shine so bright? It's the glow of opportunities, of ideas bouncing off one another, of countless people, every one of us, striving to succeed. Right now, in cities everywhere, ideas are being born. New thinking that will put us in awe of what people are capable of. That's what lights cities up. And helping people and their ideas to burn even brighter, so that communities, businesses, and you and I can grow. What if a bank made that its job? For more than 200 years, Citi's job has been to help empower people and business. Now, around the world, it's wherever people gather, wherever ideas come alive. It's wherever you are. the world's city.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Shaking
John Dickerson, I had the opportunity to hang out with him a couple of times back in Lincoln, Nebraska back in the day, when he was playing at the Zoo Bar down there in downtown Lincoln. And what a great guy. What great music. I mean, that's American music. That's rock and blues for you right there, Diane.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
We are back on Right Side Patriots with myself, Craig Andreessen, and Diane Sorey. We're glad you're with us this afternoon. Now, Diane, as we get towards the end of the show, I am going to tell my favorite all-time Irish drinking joke in honor of St. Patrick's Day coming up next week.
Go for it. Everybody loves St. Patrick's Day.
Well, everybody loves St. Patrick's Day, but not everybody loves the people that want to march in the St. Patrick's Day parade. And at the end of the show, you don't want to miss the song I've got to honor those idiots.
Okay, looking forward to it.
But now, before we get to the fun and everything, we've got a very serious topic that we need to talk about, and it's Obamacare. And Diane, you are involved in a situation that also involves Obamacare that is no laughing matter whatsoever.
No. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, Harry Reid broadcast on TV and on radio that the people who are making up these horror stories about Obamacare are liars. That none of the cancer patients are telling the truth. None of the MS patients, the MD patients, the children who need transplants, everybody is lying. Well, I can tell you a personal story about a dear friend of mine. I've seen Obamacare in action. And whether you have private insurance or, God forbid, you have to go through the exchanges, Obamacare does affect each and every American because it's the law of the land. The law that the Democrats passed without reading it, and we're stuck with it. My story involves one of my best friends. She has stage 4 brain cancer, and I can't bear to say that she is dying, but the reality and the truth is she is dying. And thanks to Obamacare, the last drug that could prolong her life, a drug that is not even expensive because it's a 25-year-old drug, is being denied to her because her private insurance company, and it's one of the major insurance companies, has said they were told they could not pay for it because the drug has not yet been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt to prolong the life of glioblastoma patients. That's one form of brain cancer, and that's the one my friend has. But what they don't understand is these people that are dying, they will try anything to prolong their life. They are willing to sign paper after paper, we release you of any legal responsibilities, whatever. And yet Obamacare denies them their one chance of life. These are the death panels. These are the bureaucrats, not only Obama's handpicked 15 sitting in D.C. who are deciding who's going to live and who's going to die, who have not one medical degree amongst them. These are also the insurance companies being dictated to by the dictator into who can have treatment and who can't have treatment. And this is just plain wrong. Because of Obamacare and their policies, my friend is not going to live to see her daughter grow up. She's not going to live to see her graduate from high school. She's not going to live to see her wedding or ever to see her grandchildren, because they are denying her her last chance. If it doesn't work, at least everything medically possible was done. But what if it did work? What if it bought her 5 years, 10 years, even 1 year? Who are these bureaucrats? Who is this president to decide who can live and who can die? The last time I looked, there was only one God. And it's not Barack Hussein Obama or his fat cat bureaucrats.
Well, Diane, let me inject here, because it's not just the drug, from what I understand from you, because you and I, we talk every day, and you keep me up to speed with what's going on with this good friend of yours. But it's not just this one drug, this 25-year-old drug that's out there that could prolong her life, maybe by months, maybe by a year, maybe by more. but there are other medical procedures that are not being expedited in her case right now.
Yes. She was supposed to have an MRI 2 days ago. She's still waiting for the approval for the MRI. And that's just a crime. That's in the hospital where she is, and they won't wheel her downstairs to get the MRI until they get the approval?
Yeah, now
because the insurance company has to pay for it.
Let me be clear here so people understand. There is no medical reason that this woman cannot have the MRI. The reason is because the insurance company has not been able to get the okay yet. Now, is this Obamacare? Is this other red tape? Well, let me tell you something. These hospitals, these doctors now are so confused by all the different rules and regulations of Obamacare, they don't know what to do.
Exactly. And by them not knowing what to do, and I'm not blaming the doctors, because the doctors, they want to help. They're healers. But their hands are being tied behind their backs, just like our military has their hands tied behind their back because of Obama and all his nonsense with this Obamacare that doesn't work. It is not medicine to help people. It's medicine to kill people.
And let's look at this, too, from a very different standpoint. The insurance company that is not going ahead with this drug that may actually help your friend, they are also tied up in red tape. They don't know what they're allowed to do. They don't know what they're going to get paid for, what they're not going to get paid for at this point. They don't know if they're even going to be in existence in 6 months. They are, just like the doctors, so horribly confused by the ever-changing Obamacare law of the land. It changes every day. Things get delayed. Things don't get delayed. This is in effect. That's not in effect. These insurance companies are left holding the bag right now.
Yes.
They don't know what to do either.
Well, what's even scarier about this is my friend has private insurance, and Obamacare is ruling over private insurance. No matter how many times he says it doesn't affect this, it doesn't affect that, whatever, it affects each and every American. It affects your policies whether you're private, an HMO, a PPO, Medicaid. It affects everything. And now Obamacare wants to tamper with Medicare and with the drug reimbursements and the drug allowances for Medicare. Why? Because Medicare is older Americans who are more likely to get sick. My friend is young. She's not going to live to see old age. But now he wants to tamper with the people who have paid their whole lives into the Medicare system and deny them their medicine, their procedures. This monstrosity doesn't need to be fixed, as Alex Sinks tried to run on. This monstrosity needs to be repealed. And the only way to repeal it is to take back that Senate on November 4th.
Now, let me explain this to our listeners. Right now, Diane is telling you about her friend, one friend that is facing the end of her life and is not able to get the type of medication that may extend her life, may help ease the pain. All right? And it's one person, Diane, and one person, her friend. But I guarantee you, in our listening audience right now, there are other people that are facing the same issue. They know somebody, they're related to somebody, and maybe they are that somebody. And when you step up and you speak out about these issues the way Diane just has, Harry Reid says, you are a liar.
Exactly.
How does that make you feel?
It just doesn't go to Harry Reid. When I put up a brief little blurb on my timeline about my friend, 99.9% of the people were sympathetic. They sent their prayers. They hope she gets better. They hope she doesn't suffer. Yet there was a minority, liberal of course, who said, I'm lying. That I made this person up. This person doesn't exist. This is what we're fighting. Because they are so brainwashed. They don't see the truth. They don't accept the truth if it came up and hit them upside their stupid heads.
Let me tell you, I speak with Diane every day. Every day. I've been getting updates on this friend of hers for a long time now. And if you think that she is making this up, you obviously have no clue. I listen to the hurt in Diane's voice when we talk on a daily basis, and I ask, how is your friend doing? We're not going to give her name on the air. We're not going to mention the insurance company on the air. There are legal reasons that we're not doing that. But this is real, and her friend is real. And this Obamacare disaster, unfortunately, is as real as it gets. Right now, it's a handful of people that we know of publicly that are going through this. We hear the stories. We see the people on the news. We see their families on the news. When it starts affecting you personally, as it is for Diane and for many of our listeners, I know, it takes on a whole new meaning as to just how insidious this law is. If you think brain cancer is an insidious disease, it's compounded by Obamacare.
Absolutely. It's made worse. But my friend's story is not unique. Cancer knows no bounds. It affects every race, every nationality, the sexes, children, the young, the old. It's an equal opportunity killer. Yes, some survive. Absolutely. But not certain cancers. Pancreatic cancer, brain cancer, those are not survivable yet, beyond certain periods of time. Yet we are on the cutting edge of finding new drugs, of doing new therapies, and doing clinical trials. In Obamacare, clinical trials have ceased for certain cancers. That means that those people, and they could be young, they could be old, they have no hope. Because the trials, the drugs that can help them, are being denied by Obamacare. Imagine you're a cancer patient. You just find out you have cancer. You're not that sick yet. But your hope for survival is taken away. What do you have if you don't have hope? This is what this man and this monstrosity and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi and their ilk have perpetrated on the American people. And every single Democrat who voted for Obamacare, remember, not one Republican voted for it. Every Democrat is as guilty as Pelosi and Reid and Obama for this monstrosity, because it's killing our friends, our relatives, and our loved ones across the board.
It doesn't matter if you are a patient, if you're a family member, if you're a doctor, if you're an insurance agent or the owner of an insurance company. It does not matter if you run a research and development laboratory, or if you are in the medical field where you build and innovate medical equipment. Obamacare is invading your ability to do what you must do, to save people's lives, to have a life if you're a patient, to have your loved ones around you if you're a family member. This is why it's so important. This is why Ted Cruz is 100% correct. It must be repealed.
Exactly. Every Republican candidate who is serious, who we as Republicans take serious, every single one of them has said Obamacare must be repealed. It's not fixable, folks. It's a disaster that needs to go.
Elect the people in November that will take over the Senate. If they've got an R behind their name on the ballot, vote for them. I don't care if it's your chosen candidate or not, you vote for them. Because when we get the majority in the Senate, we can hold their feet to the fire. We can do the same thing in the House. We can repeal Obamacare. We can take this law down. We can save lives by doing it. But if you stay home, if you vote for a candidate who's not on your particular ballot, just because you don't like the guy with the or the woman with the R behind the name, you are handing people's lives to to the liberals. You're handing them over to Obamacare. You do not want to do this, people. You do not want to do this. There is too much at stake here. Too many people's lives. And if it's not somebody you know today, it just might be tomorrow.
Or it might be you tomorrow. Remember, cancer is equal opportunity. It affects everyone in some way.
It does. And Obamacare is only going to go away if we make it go away. We the people, we need to take control of this situation, and we must do it this November. We've only got a few months leading up to November. So find the candidate you want to back into the primaries. Do everything you can for that candidate going into the primaries. Get that candidate on the ballot. But if for some reason that candidate that you have chosen is not the one that wins your primary, get behind the one that did, because that is the only way we are going to take this country back, and it is the only way we are going to get rid of Obamacare. And Diane, I just got to say, there's a lot of courage involved in telling the story that you just told on the show this afternoon, because not everybody would step up and do that. And you don't hear the personal stories from others in the media, others on talk radio. You hear stories of other people that are very heartfelt. Don't get me wrong. But this time it's personal. And,
exactly.
You know, Diane's going to keep us up to date. She's going to let us know what's going on.
And I have permission, and I have the permission of my friend and her husband to get the story out, because they care enough about their fellow Americans. It might be too late for her, but maybe we can save somebody else by getting these stories out. Not just my friend's stories, but everybody who has these horror stories. We can't be silent anymore.
We can't be, and we're not going to be. That's part of why we do what we do here at Right Side Patriots. It's why Diane has the Patriot Factor, where she writes every day. It's why I have the National Patriot, where I put articles in every day. We need to wake people up. We need to shake the ground. We need to change things, and we're going to reach out every Wednesday afternoon from 2 to 4 Eastern Time, and we're going to shake up as many people as we can. But Diane, thank you so much for telling that story.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Keep us appraised of what's going on. But we've only got a few minutes left here, and you know, as tough a story as that was to tell, and as dire as the circumstances are with Obamacare, I just don't want to end the show on that note.
We need a laugh. We definitely need a laugh.
We need to lighten things up just a little bit.
Absolutely.
As we go out of the show here. So I promised people that I was going to tell the best Irish drinking joke there is. I mean, look, we've got St. Paddy's Day coming up on Monday. And we're not going to have another live show to do before St. Patrick's Day. So we started the day talking about the log cabin Republicans and the gay conservatives who are more than willing to go out there and help us pound the streets, bang on doors, get people out to the voting booth. And we've got to accept that assistance that they are offering. We're going to shoot ourselves in the foot if we don't. But St. Patrick's Day, the St. Patrick's Day parade every year in New York, you remember a few years back, there was a whole bunch of people that said, no, we don't want any gay people marching in the St. Patty's Day parade. Right. Well,
yes.
The song I've got to close the show is a direct salute, quote-unquote salute, to those people today. But first, the world's greatest Irish joke. Diane?
Go for it.
It's a Friday afternoon, and a fellow walks into a little pub on a corner in Boston, and he goes clear to the far end of the pub, and he sits down and he orders himself a beer. And a couple of minutes later, another fellow comes in and sits down at the near end of the bar, and he orders a beer. And the fellow over at the far end of the bar says to the other patron, he says, he says, this place sure does remind me of the pubs back home. And the fellow at the near end of the bar says, Oh, he says, I was thinking the same thing myself. He says, I tell you what, he said, I'll buy you a beer while you tell me where you grew up. And so he buys a couple of beers, and the fellow at the far end of the bar says, he says, I grew up in Dublin. And the fellow at the near end says, big aura. I grew up in Dublin myself. And the fellow at the far end says, he says, you don't say. He says, let me buy you a beer. And they do, and they move a little bit closer together, a couple of bar stools closer together. And they continue to talk, and more patrons are coming into the bar. And the first fella says to the second one, he says, he says, you tell me. He says, what part of Dublin were you in when you were a child? And the other fellow says, he says, I grew up right there on Hanrahan Street. And the other fellow says, get out. He says, I grew up on Hanrahan Street. And he says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll buy you a beer and a beer for everybody here in the bar. And so they do. And this continues, and they keep talking amongst themselves, and more people are coming in. And one fellow says to the other, and he says, I remember so fondly my own home as a child. Had a white picket fence in the front yard. And the other one says, he says, I had a white picket fence in my front yard too. He says, another round for everybody. And now people are crowding. They are pushing their way to get closer to these guys because, heck, they're buying free beer. And the first one says, he says, tell me more about your childhood. And the other one says, he says, I had a wee little doggy as a pet. And the other one says, I did too. And by now they're buying beers. The place is crowded. There's yelling and screaming, and the phone rings, and the bartender picks up the phone, and he has to yell because he can barely hear. And he says, hello. He says, you've reached O'Malley's. And the voice on the other end of the phone says, Michael. He says, Michael, is that you? He says, I can barely hear you. He says, what do you got going down there? A riot, a fight? What's going on? And Michael says, no. He says, tain't nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. He says, it's just the Flanagan twins are at it again. And there you have
a good light note, that's for sure.
There you have the greatest Irish drinking joke in the whole world. Folks, I hope you have a very safe and happy and fun St. Patrick's Day. We want to thank DJ Living Good for helping us engineer the show today. Our special exclusive guest today, Sergeant Joe Chamberlain, the man who was one of the Marines who peed on the Taliban. And Diane, thank you, and thank our listeners for being here with us today.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
This is an Irish tune I have to do because we're in New York. And this spectacle occurs pretty much like clockwork every March. Well, we're coming down Fifth Avenue upon St. Patty's Day. A great day for the Irish all across the USA. But begorra, what is this I hear? This crying ballyhoo. There's a bunch of queers again this year who say they're Irish too. God loves the Irish, unless of course you're gay. If you are, you won't be marching upon St. Patty's Day. You can be a bum, a bucket of scum, sure, and that's okay. But you can't be Irish if you're gay. Now the order of Hibernians, those eminences grey, have delivered this pronouncement upon the blessed day. Sure, a little bit of heaven fell and nestled in the sea. But you're going straight to hell for homosexuality. Oh, God loves the Irish, unless of course you're gay. That was her pronouncement as the pipes begin to play. You can be a con, a mafia don, we'll laugh it all away. But you can't be Irish if you're gay. O-L-E-S-B-I-A-N and S spells lesbians. Choosing other women for to mate with. Devil a man can never get a date with. L-E-S-B-I-A-N-S we say. It's a shame that these dames want to come out and march with us. Lesbians, no way. Now just ask Cardinal O'Connor. He's bound to such a strait. It's boyos like the Kennedys that made this country great. We don't allow no Peter Pan the wearing of the green. And when we say up the Irish, that isn't what we mean. Oh, God loves the Irish as long as men are men. Except, of course, for leprechauns, we've never been short of them. You can be a bum, a bucket of scum, sure, and that's okay. You can't be Irish if you're gay. No, you can't be Irish if you're gay. Don't even try to be an Irish if you're diddle-de-diddle-de-diddle-de-diddle-de-diddle-de-diddle-de-diddle-de-dee.